Ladies and gentlemen, acting under the assumption that the top is in, we have just seen a bull market in which Ethereum did not even break its all-time high, not in any real way anyway. It's slightly edged above it, but actually we tested the 2021 all-time high, we rejected from that level, and now we're down about 46% from the high, while Bitcoin is down about 36% from its high, meaning that Ethereum now is underperforming Bitcoin, which is a shift from what we saw in April through to about September or October, in which Ethereum was dramatically outperforming Bitcoin by a factor of about 3 or 4x. So we went from a period of time in which Ethereum was doing very, very well against Bitcoin to a period of time in which it didn't even break its all-time high, and now it's underperforming Bitcoin. The same thing can be said about the total 3, which is the altcoin market cap, generally speaking. Much like Ethereum, we were unable on 3 consecutive retests to break the all-time high from 2021 properly. And much like Ethereum again, we're currently unable to outperform Bitcoin. This correction on the total 3 has taken us from 1.2 trillion all the way down to 800 billion, which is about a third of the valuation of a total 3, more than a third, absolutely cut from the market, wiped from the market. So altcoins are not doing well. They haven't done well rarely at any point in this cycle. Ethereum, again, as I said, had a brief period of time which it was doing better than Bitcoin. That period of time lasted about 8 months. It wasn't anything like I would call an altcoin season. If we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, for example, we can see the Bitcoin dominance chart has pretty much been in an aggressive uptrend the entire cycle. There have been periods of time, brief periods of time, where it's been dropping, but overall the uptrend is sustained. Even simply put, we can go ahead and just draw an uptrending support line. So the question becomes, and see that it's not a downtrend by any means, the question becomes, well, there's 2 questions. One of them is, does this mean the bull market has not ended? And I think I've given my answer to that on previous videos. I think at this point, the bull market probably is over, not definitively over, but probably is over. And at the very least, heavy caution is very much warranted at this period of time due to the 4-year cycle's regular mechanisms seeming to play out. And the second big question is, are altcoins dead? Are altcoins ruined? We didn't see an altcoin season this cycle. We haven't seen it, at least for when it's meant to happen. It was meant to happen throughout 2024 and 2025. That did not occur. So there has been a bit of a break from the status quo, but the break from the status quo is quite deceptive. I would say that in many ways, the status quo has actually remained. I'll tell you exactly why, and I'll tell you why I don't think the altcoin market is quote unquote dead. I do think it has changed though. Guys, everyone needs a place to buy and sell cryptocurrency. If you're involved in crypto, not only do you need to buy and sell, you also need to hold. You need to be able to transact your cryptocurrency. That's the purpose of an exchange. And of course, exchanges get hacked all the time. They lose their customers' funds or misuse their customer funds all of the time. There's big controversy around that in cryptocurrency. So you need to be on a safer exchange. You need to be on an exchange that's not extorting you on fees. And that's why I choose Bitunix. Not only is it global, not only is it non-KYC, but it's low in fees, and it's historically been very, very safe. Not a single security breach has ever happened on Bitunix, and it's been on the market through 2 entire cycles. So check it out off my link down below. I use it personally for good reason, and I suggest you do so as well. My link is down there. You'll get a 15% lifetime trading fee discount exclusively with that link. I appreciate you guys using it if you're interested. It's in the pinned comment and description, and let's get into the content. Altcoins didn't do well this cycle for a couple of very important reasons, and none of those reasons are because altcoins are dead. That's not a reason. That is a brush away explanation. It takes no real analysis. It takes no real data to say. What we can say is this: Bitcoin this cycle performed exactly as expected. That might be a controversial statement. That might be shocking to some people. Yes, there were elements of the cycle that were a little strange, but overall, Bitcoin did what it's always done. Assuming the top is in, Bitcoin did what it's always done. We take this logarithmic regression channel right here. We can see the angle of ascension between tops and bottoms halves each cycle. This channel has been consistent throughout all of Bitcoin's cycles, and this cycle was no different. We tested it 3 times. We've rejected from it so far, and the evidence at this point suggests that the top was in on that 3rd retest and rejection. The only difference, and we can go through and check out the the 4-year cycle day range trends. I bring it up every video. I think everyone is well aware of the 4-year cycle by now. There are date range trends on Bitcoin that predict basically or project when Bitcoin should top and where Bitcoin should bottom. There are the trends right there on the screen. You can see the writing and you can see the color-coded date range measurements which correspond to the writing. Those measurements put us to around October 2025 as the suspected top for Bitcoin. That's why I've been saying on this YouTube channel, literally since, if you go back to my videos from all the way back in 2022, I said the top would likely be in October 2025. That's absolutely verifiable and fact-checkable. My prediction track record. Go to my YouTube channel, click on the data or the information underneath the title of my YouTube channel, and you'll see the prediction track record right there. And furthermore, I've made videos from August 2023 in which I discussed 130,000 as the main target for this cycle. And the reason I said that was due to this logarithmic regression channel, which we could draw from back there in 2023 and could correspond to the date of October 2025, bringing us to resistance at 130,000, right? The point is, everything, I'm not just saying this to brag or flex on my prediction track record. I'm saying it because it's evidence that everything that has happened this cycle was provable well back into the past, well back to 2022 and 2023. We didn't know this was going to happen. Of course, we can't know anything, but we suspected this was a very likely scenario and a very regular scenario. The regular scenario has played out. And the reason why altcoins haven't done well this cycle, the reason why Bitcoin dominance never even bloody moved, is simply because the Bitcoin structures didn't correspond to good altcoin performance. What do I mean by that? I mean that altcoins rely on Bitcoin, which everyone knows. And second of all, I mean that altcoins need hype. So what they need is Bitcoin moving aggressively. If Bitcoin moves aggressively, if there's hype in the Bitcoin market, people see that and they start funneling their money into altcoins. That's what happened in 2017. It was a straight up bull market with very few corrections. When they happened, they were sharp and volatile and they breeded even more hype. Okay, you had news articles coming out, everything, headlines. 2021 was a similar story with a big dip in the middle. And this cycle was not. This cycle we saw aggressive moves to the upside that was short-lived, followed by long drawn out corrections, 9 months, 8-month corrections, right, on multiple occasions. This is not conducive, very simply put, not conducive to positive altcoin market performance against Bitcoin. When we're talking about altcoin market performance, we're not just talking about altcoins going upwards. We're talking about altcoins going upwards against Bitcoin, because realistically, Bitcoin is a lower risk investment than altcoins. And so in order to justify an altcoin investment, you need a higher reward. And you only get that, okay, when altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. Hence, when Bitcoin dominance is dropping. We saw Bitcoin dominance drop in 2017. We saw it in 2021. We did not see it this cycle because the hype was not there. That's the main reason. There is a secondary reason, which is a little bit boring. The secondary reason is that there's a bunch more altcoins now, and altcoins are created much more easily due to Solana network. There's like 10,000 altcoins. I think it's 40,000 altcoins every week are created, which is dramatically more than in prior cycles. So there's an argument for dilution of the altcoin market. It's a secondary argument. I'd say the main argument is simply hype breeds hype, and we saw very little hype this cycle. So the question becomes, because altcoins have not performed well this cycle, does that mean they won't perform well in future? Well, not necessarily, but potentially. And I'll tell you why. I'll answer that a little bit more, less vaguely, of course. Let me just scroll up to the Bitcoin chart once again and give you an idea of what's going on here. Okay, so of course, we've just established that altcoin performance pretty much relies on Bitcoin moving quickly. We've also established that the cycle, which has remained consistent throughout Bitcoin's entire lifespan, reacts differently to the Bitcoin price action every cycle. Okay, so we have the regular 4-year cycle, which underpins all of these 3 cycles that we've seen. And yet all of these 3 cycles have seen very different Bitcoin structures. So us seeing a different Bitcoin structure this time doesn't necessarily mean we'll see the same structure next time. We could see an aggressive bull market on Bitcoin next time, and hence altcoins could move upwards. So by default, no, the altcoin market's not destroyed. And no, this cycle wasn't irregular. Actually, it was very regular. We just didn't see, due to various reasons, ETFs might be one of them, we just didn't see the hype required for altcoins to move. That doesn't mean we won't see it again. If I had to speculate, though, I would say, yes, it is probably less likely that we see the massive amount of hype that we saw in 2017 again, because the market is much more mature than it was in 2017, and it's much less likely for Bitcoin to move that aggressively as it did in 2017, because it is more mature, because the market cap is higher, because more money needs to come into the market to move it that way. But I don't think it's impossible. I think that this cycle, although regular from a bottom to top and halving perspective, was a little abnormal because the ETF decision kind of distorted the price action towards the beginning of the cycle. I think we moved upwards way too fast, way too quickly due to ETF hype. We went upwards from $25,000 to $72,000 in a matter of mere months on Bitcoin in 2023 before the halving. That's a little bit unheard of. We don't usually break all-time highs before the halving. I think that ETFs kind of moved this cycle a little bit too fast. And look, this is all kind of aside from the main point. The point I'm trying to make is this. There's nothing about what's happened this cycle that was actually abnormal from a Bitcoin cyclical structural perspective. Altcoins react to Bitcoin price action. The norm for Bitcoin is abnormality. The norm for Bitcoin in bull markets is moving differently than it did in the prior bull market. And therefore, in the next bull market, if that norm continues, we could move differently again, and the movement style could correlate to altcoin price action, right? Very significant upside altcoin price action. That's not off the table at all. There's nothing about what's happened this cycle that puts that off the table. The only theory we have now is that maybe the market is too mature for that volatility to return to Bitcoin again. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. We'll just have to wait and see. But no, altcoins are not dead just because they didn't do well this cycle. The altcoin market has probably changed because the entire crypto market has matured a bit more. That's probably true. It's not provably true, but it's probably true. And that's my overall take on altcoins right now. So I actually don't think that altcoins are worth touching in Bitcoin bear markets. I think there's really no reason to do that in the vast majority of cases, especially on a generalized scale. We have a provable price history here of Bitcoin dominance trending upwards in Bitcoin bear markets. And if we are in a bear market now, that should continue to be the case. There's not much hype on Bitcoin during a bear market, so there's no real reason to expect altcoins to do anything during a Bitcoin bear market. But the main point of this video is to say that altcoins probably are not dead forever. Yes, the 2017 style altcoin season is probably a thing of the past. It's probably an artifact of the past. But we could see some sort of altcoin season again. Just because we didn't see it this cycle, it doesn't mean it's gone forever. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I'm on a phone here. It's quite hard to scan through the charts, so I appreciate you sticking with me. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the Bitunix Exchange. Guys, everyone needs a place to buy and sell cryptocurrency. If you're involved in crypto, not only do you need to buy and sell, you also need to hold. You need to be able to transact your cryptocurrency. That's the purpose of an exchange. And of course, exchanges get hacked all the time. They lose their customers' funds or misuse their customer funds all of the time. There's big controversy around that in cryptocurrency. So you need to be on a safer exchange. You need to be on an exchange that's not extorting you on fees. And that's why I choose Bitunix. Not only is it global, not only is it non-KYC, but it's low in fees, and it's historically been very, very safe. Not a single security breach has ever happened on Bitunix, and it's been on the market through 2 entire cycles. So check it out off my link down below. I use it personally for good reason, and I suggest you do so as well. My link is down there. You'll get a 15% lifetime trading fee discount exclusively with that link. I appreciate you guys using it if you're interested. It's in the pinned comment and description, and let's get into the content.